Good afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Thursday, April the 20th. Zach Ewing and Jim Derry here with you. Lots to talk about. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft, and so we will get heavy into the odds for that. Also have a special announcement for those of you who are into the draft and into what the Saints will do at the draft and into betting on the draft and all sorts of things. Exciting times, Jim.
They are, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know whether I'm looking more forward to the draft or more forward to the draft being over. One of the two. They're both looking forward to both.
I felt that because it's a lot of work for us, and there's just so much uncertainty, right? And we'll talk about that with the Saints. You don't know. I mean, just looking at odds today, their odds to draft a quarterback are up to 10-1. I think it's going to happen. But does somebody somewhere think if Hendon Hooker falls to that spot, the Saints would hop on? I don't
think first round.
I mean, I don't think so. But my point is, it's so uncertain. They pick at number 29. People say, well, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, seriously, I hate to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but your guess is as good as mine is.
Well, I mean, that's what people don't realize. And one of the things I was just doing my Datitude cover, and one of the things is, mock drafts, who cares? I mean, mock drafts don't mean a thing. I mean, they're fun to read and look at, but no one knows. The Saints don't have a clue. I mean, I think the Saints probably don't even know what position they're going to take.
They have a board, but they don't know
they have a board, and they have an idea. Mickey Loomis could if you injected truth serum into him and forced him to talk, like put him in a torture chamber and forced him to talk, he could probably tell you it's one of three positions, but I don't think it's anything beyond that. And anyone who says they know what any team is going to do beyond maybe pick 3 is just flat out full of BS. So that's where we are right now. But look, I do look forward to it. It is fun. We had a lot of fun, obviously, last year being there. We won't be there this year. We'll be doing our show. Did I just tease something that anyway?
You just gave it up, so we might as well say it. We're going to be live during the draft next Thursday night, 6 o'clock. The draft starts. We will be in these same channels, Bayou Bets YouTube channel, NOLA.com Facebook page. We'll be live with you the entire first round. Live look-ins from Airline Drive. We'll be talking to Spencer the Guru out there. Get some visits from Jeff Duncan, Luke Johnson, Taryn Walk, whoever is available. Rod Walker out there from our Saints team. And we'll keep an eye on the odds, of course. We'll keep an eye on the big picks, but we'll also be keeping an eye on what the Saints might do.
Maybe we'll have Mickey Loomis's press conference, Dennis Allen's press conference, if we can get it. So a lot of live show, a lot of things going into this live show. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it. But back to the point of whether we have more fun doing the show or when it's over. The sad thing about when it's over is you go through that's when the doldrums start, right? I mean, for us, the summer starts on May the 2nd or May the 3rd or whatever it is. Because then all you have is mini camps. We have the Breakers. We're going to talk about the Breakers on Datitude, Coach. And here's another spoiler alert. New Orleans Breakers head coach John DeFilippo is going to be on Datitude tomorrow morning, along with Saints beat writer Luke Johnson. So we are going to talk Saints, too. It won't be just about the Breakers. But John DeFilippo has a great story. And he was in the NFL for a long time. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He was the quarterback's coach of the Philadelphia Eagles when they pulled the Philly special. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that as well. And you know what? I'm going to pick his brain on the draft a little bit as well. So, I mean, he's still obviously very in touch with the NFL, and I'm sure hopes to get back there one day. He's only 45 years old. So he's quite a bit younger than me and a little bit older than you. And, we'll have him on, and it should be a fun show tomorrow. But, I'm looking forward to that. But then, I think the only thing is we probably go right into planning for the NFL season right after that's over. Maybe take a little bit of a break, but over under win totals, we start looking at that and odds and all that.
The thing you get is about a week after the draft now, the NFL has made an event out of its schedule release.
Yeah,
and I kind of roll my eyes at the fact, and we all know who the Saints are going to play. We just don't know the order.
I love it.
But what I do love about it is that shortly after that happens, the sportsbook, Caesar Sportsbook, our partner, will roll out odds for all of the week 1 games, and in some cases, week 2, week 3, week 4. And you can start looking at point spreads. You can bet on them if you want to at this early juncture. And so we'll have a lot of fun with that. But for today's Bayou Bets,
Zach, but real quick, I know it's hard to believe, but back in the day before they had the big schedule release, I know it's hard to believe I was a geek as a kid. I mean, but these are the things that I loved. I loved when they released the schedule, and I would pore over it for days, like making my little predictions. And I say as a kid, I probably did it well into my 20s, and I started working at the Picayune when I was 22 years old, and that was a big deal when the schedule came out, and we'd all go through it and mark our little wins and losses, and you can do that in May. You don't have to be. You can be just as right as anybody else in May. So, but yeah, that's a fun time. But then we do go into the dog days of summer, and be a couple months of planning and researching and writing stuff and whatever. So
let's not worry about that today. We got draft to talk about. Today's Bayou Bets brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, as always, our official odds partner, and we'll be showing odds from Caesars throughout the show. If you'd like to sign up for Caesars Sportsbook, we have a special offer for you at NOLA.com/Caesars. So check that out. They got all sorts of draft odds, NBA playoffs, all sorts of stuff, baseball, everything else. And we also have our own YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Sign up for notifications and get updated every time we go live, including during the NFL draft. And Jerry is here.
Hello, Jerry.
And Jerry's got a good question about who the Saints will take, and we'll get to that in just a second. First off, our headlines of the day. As the odds show us, the Texans, we think Bryce Young will be the number one pick. That seems locked in to the Carolina Panthers. So the Texans pick next. Will Anderson, who's the outstanding edge rusher from Alabama, could be two Crimson Tide players back-to-back to open the draft. But the odds are starting to say that if it's not Will Anderson, they're not looking at C.J. Stroud, who was rumored to be the number one pick for several weeks. They're looking at Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. And so we'll talk about that and how crazy that may be. Other headlines, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, the PGA Tour is in town this week. There's a three-way tie right now between three different two-man teams there at TPC Louisiana, so we'll look at those odds. The Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas became official late last night. They have a not a non-binding, it is a binding agreement to buy land in Las Vegas to build a stadium there. So they look to be officially on the move in the next few years. And then LSU football has its spring game on Saturday, Jim.
Yeah, and by the way, just got notice that there's forecasted really bad weather in the area tomorrow. So all New Orleanians, if you're interested in golf, the Zurich Classic has moved the start time to 7 a.m. tomorrow. They will start play, which does not bode well for all these groups that are at -10 and -9 and -8. They're going to be playing the waiting game for a lot tomorrow. It also isn't good for a play-by-play announcer who's supposed to do a baseball game tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. That ought to be interesting. But, so the Zurich Classic will try to dodge the weather, so they will be starting super early, but we'll see how that goes.
As for LSU football spring game, by the way, it's pretty clear reading between the lines coming out of spring practices. There's no real quarterback controversy.
No.
I think as we
Nor
said,
should there be.
When spring practice started last month, this was, I don't want to say manufactured by Brian Kelly, but if you're in Brian Kelly's shoes, you don't want Garrett Nussmeier to leave because having a good backup quarterback is a very valuable thing. And so you wanted to, hey, we have an open mind was the word he used about quarterback. Could be Jaden, could be Garrett. It's going to be Jaden Daniels. He's going to be pretty good. But
if you're thinking about leaving, though, Zach, what would possibly make you stay that would make you think you actually had a real legitimate shot at number one? I think any sane person who watched LSU last year or was on that team knows that Jaden Daniels will be and should be the starting quarterback for the LSU Tigers next year. Now, that's not to say that we see injuries at every level all the time. So Garrett Nussmeier is a solid number one backup. He's a great backup quarterback, probably one of the best in college football. So, and with experience, and you don't get that a lot. So LSU needs. You're right. Brian Kelly did a great job of probably selling him, but I think realistically he knew he was going to be number two. But at the same time, knows he'll get playing time. Even if Jaden Daniels doesn't get hurt, he's going to get playing time.
Well, I think so. But we should mention at this juncture that the transfer portal opens back up next week. So they're not. The way college football is these days. LSU is not out of the woods as far as Garrett Nussmeier deciding to leave. I'm not trying to break any news. I have no idea if that will happen, but it is at least still on the table. You can't just write it off completely. So, that's happening. Jerry, you asked a good question. Who do you see the Saints taking at 29? He says either DN, D tackle, or edge. So he likes defensive lineman. Well, our poll question this week on bet.nola.com was exactly that. And you can actually still go vote at bet.nola.com. But here are the results thus far. We posted this on Monday. We've had about 300 of you vote. What will the Saints draft first? And defensive lineman. Now, I personally think they'll draft the defensive lineman. 70% is a little high. I'm not that confident.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, we've talked about this in the past. The Saints are not a by-the-book kind of team. They were last year, which was weird. I don't know if that's because Sean Payton was gone or because, it just so happened. So, look, that's what fit. I don't think there's any particular position this year that fits. I don't think there's any position. I mean, if they're drafting strictly by need in the first round, I don't care what anyone says. And I mean, you cannot. No one's going to be able to convince me of this, that they don't need a running back more than they need anything else. That being said, I don't think they're going to reach. We talked about it in pre-production. Who's going to be available? Bijan Robinson's going to be gone by the time that the Saints draft. I don't even think the Saints are in a position to be able to trade up to be in a position to get him. So you're talking about, the Alabama running back, Jameer Gibson. Gibbs. I'm losing my mind here today. But that's probably the only other first round possibly worthy running back that may be a reach. So I don't think they're going to go there. I personally think they're going to draft either wide receiver or offensive lineman. I think they're going to draft offense. I know I'm bucking the trend and the field and the majority, but I just think that's the way that it's going to be. I think they're going to go opposite of what people are going to think. But it's all conjecture, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about that in my rant of the day. But I think the Saints, I don't think they need. I think defensive lineman, either edge or interior, is way down the list of what the Saints need. It's not 1, 2, or 3. So, but we'll see. And those odds keep coming down in defensive linemen. They were like minus 160 a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, down to minus 110. So
these are actually the exact same as they were Monday. So just comparing them to Monday's slide. So they did come down a bit, but now minus 110. I don't totally disagree. The place I'll push back, Jim, is that I do think defensive tackle is a place the Saints need some help. I don't know if it's number 1 on the list, but it's certainly not as low as number 5, as you said. This was a team that was frankly not very good at stopping the run last year. And that's a place where they can certainly get better. Does that mean it will definitely be the first round pick? No, but I think it will be an early pick. It's a place where they need help.
My contention on that, though, is, Zach, I don't disagree with you that they need help there. But interior defensive linemen are a dime a dozen. There are about 6 or 7 really good ones, and the rest of them you can throw in a hat, and they're all about the same. So I think you can get interior defensive line help almost anywhere. And that's not really a position unless there's a big-time standout, and I don't think there necessarily is. That's a position that you get either later in the draft and build someone up or get in free agency. Get someone that gets cut in training camp. I mean, I really don't think that's a position that you fill with the early part of the draft. I just don't.
Well, speaking of early in the draft, and we'll circle back to the Saints on this, but early, we all think at this point that Bryce Young will be the number 1 pick. He's anywhere between minus 1,000 and minus 1,400 to be the number 1 pick. I mean, it's pretty clear. Yeah. He's canceled all of his other visits. It's pretty clear the Carolina Panthers have zeroed in on Bryce Young to be the number 1 pick.
Which ticks me off that I didn't bet on it at minus 300. I wasn't ready to bet on him before, but at minus 300, I was ready to bet it, and I let it slide, and I could have made some free money.
I got a little bit on him at about minus 150 when the Bears still had the pick.
Yeah, you did it. You did it right.
And then when they traded it, Stroud became the favorite, and I thought I got caught. But as it turned out, it does look like it'll be Bryce Young.
Yeah, that's free money.
The intrigue really starts at number 2, okay? And C.J. Stroud, who was supposed to be or was the favorite to be the number 1 pick from the moment the Panthers acquired it until about 2 weeks ago, conventional wisdom says, okay, well, if he's not going to go number 1, the Houston Texans will take him at number 2. That doesn't necessarily appear to be the case. He's on the board here. It's plus 275. So there's a possibility of that. But Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback, is now not only the favorite to be this pick, but there's other markets at Caesars where you can bet who the second quarterback taken will be. And Will Levis is now the favorite, or even at least with C.J. Stroud in that market. So are the Houston Texans, like Gabe Henderson, who's one of our writers and does the fantasy show,
poor Gabe.
Like he's ready to. He doesn't have all that much hair. He crops it close, but he's going to pull the rest of it out. If Will Levis makes his pick, and then he might pull some of your hair out too. Like and maybe he'll just paint his face again just for the hell of it. I don't know. He's going to be funny. He'll be so upset he'll do some bad things. Will Levis, is that really what?
I don't think he has anything to worry about. I think someone's blowing a smoke screen somewhere. Usually the books get these lines from, they have insiders somewhere. And I think that probably, if you look at probably what's happened, someone on the inside probably said, if we take a quarterback, we're going to take Will Levis because we have no interest in C.J. Stroud, whatever the reason may be, rightly or wrongly. So that's probably where that came from. But I think, look, I think the Texans are in a place where, sure, they need a quarterback, but I think the only game-changing quarterback in this draft that's obvious is Bryce Young. And once they realize they weren't getting him, you can shy away and get a quarterback later and take a risk. I think Will Anderson is a value here because I think that's probably the most likely way they're going to go. And if I were to put money on it, and I may or may not, I think Will Anderson at plus 220 is a great value. And I would say there's better than a 50-50 chance that that's the way they're going to go. I cannot see them. To me, you take Will Levis with the second pick of the draft, you're wasting a great position there. And I don't see the Texans doing that. Now, again, though, they could trade the pick, and someone who does have their eye on Will Levis, that could be something else someone knows. Maybe an insider knows that someone wants to trade up to get Will Levis, which is a possibility. I don't see it, but it's certainly a possibility. It could happen. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I still think if the Texans pick there, I think it's Will Anderson.
Will Levis did visit the New England Patriots yesterday. Ian Rappaport reported today.
That's hard to believe.
Could the Patriots go up?
I don't think. I mean, are you giving up on Mac Jones already?
I think they are, but I don't know if they're going to give up the assets to go all the way to number 2.
Yeah, I don't say that.
The way this sets up, for those who haven't followed it closely, the Texans at number 2 certainly could use a quarterback. They don't have to have one. They could go back with Case Keenum another year. Davis Mills. Number 3 is the Arizona Cardinals. Wouldn't think they would take a quarterback with Kyler Murray's out. Kyler Murray's going to be out for the season. They could trade it. Number 4 is the Colts, and they certainly need a quarterback.
They would love for C.J. Stroud to fall to them.
If C.J. Stroud fell to them.
Ohio State, a quarterback going to Indianapolis, not far from home. That would be
the Colts.
Yeah, that would be a huge deal for them. So they certainly would take C.J. Stroud at 4 if he's still there.
Now, could someone trade up to 3? Could the Colts be forced to trade up to 3 if they want Stroud? That's a possibility.
They might trade up to 2.
After the Colts, you go through several teams that aren't really obviously quarterback needy. Okay, so number 5 is the Broncos, it's the Seahawks who got it from the Broncos. Seahawks just re-signed Geno Smith. 6, it's the Lions. They've got Jared Goff. I guess they could take somebody, but Goff had a fine season. 7 is the Raiders, just signed Jimmy Garoppolo. 8 is the Falcons, who just drafted Desmond Ridder last year, and the jury's out, but I don't think you're going to replace him. 9 is the Bears. They've got Justin Fields. 10 is the Eagles, Jalen Hurts. You go all the way down to 11 in the Tennessee Titans before you get another team that has an obvious need at quarterback.
Yeah, maybe the Titans are going to trade up. I mean, somebody is told something, and that would actually make sense if the Titans could pull it off. I mean, that's quite a ways to go from 11 to 2, and I'm not really sure why you would go from 11 to 2 because I really think that Will Levis would still be there at 11. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Doesn't look like it.
No, but it doesn't look like that. Look like it because somebody's throwing out stuff all over the place, and you may have the Titans in a panic. I don't know why you'd be in a panic over Will Levis, but whatever. Maybe they trade up. I mean, Tennessee getting a Kentucky quarterback. Who knows?
The other thing I'll say is after Tennessee, you do get a run on quarterback needy teams. The Texans pick at 12. I mean, look, the Texans could take Will Anderson at 2 and possibly still get one of the 3 remaining first-round quarterbacks at 12. Doubtful, but it's possible. Or they could trade up with that pick. 13 is the Jets, certainly need a quarterback. 14 is the Patriots, need a quarterback. 15, the Packers, probably going to give Jordan Love a chance. 16 is the Commanders, they need a quarterback.
Did the Ravens trade up?
Yeah, the Ravens trade up.
This is going to be, that's why all these mock drafts are just, again, they're fun to read, but there's no way anyone knows anything about what's going to happen, because there are going to be, I know there are always trades, but I think more so than usual. I think there's going to be more trades than usual this year, because I don't think they're big time stars, but there are obviously players that teams have their eyes on more than any other year. And I think that they're going to panic. If they think that their player might go, they're going to trade up and get him. So, and you see teams more and more trading, more and more. I think it's going to happen. So you might see 8 or 9 trades in the first round. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
I think, if you're the Cardinals at number 3, or even if you're the Texans at 2 and have decided you're not taking a quarterback, you could hold an auction between those teams between
For
11
sure.
and 15. What'll you give me? And just like the Bears did with the number 1 pick, Panthers gave up a lot for that number 1 pick. You wouldn't get quite as much, obviously, for the number 2 or 3 pick, but you'll still get a good bid, especially if there's multiple teams bidding for it. So
for sure, it'll be fun.
Yeah, the other odds movement, Jim, and this one may affect the Saints just because of the division. Like, I'm starting to think there's some real momentum for Bijan Robinson, who some scouts have said is the best player in the draft. He's that good. He's a running back. You don't typically see running backs taken in the first half of the first round anymore. It's been since Saquon Barkley in, I think, 2018. But if you look at his number for his over-under draft number at Caesars, it's 15.5, but you've got to pay minus 270 juice for the under, which means for him to be picked sooner, as in the first 15 picks, you've got to pay minus 270. And I think that the Falcons at number 8, and their odds, I think, are plus 350 to draft a running back. It's their second most popular choice. It makes a lot of sense to me, and it's a guy that the Saints would have to deal with for a long time.
Well, other than Cordell Patterson, they've really had a revolving door at running back. That wouldn't surprise me at all if they went out and got a real one. But the Falcons always screw something up. I honestly, I think there's value on the over plus 15.5 at plus 220. I don't necessarily think he's going to go past 15, but until a week ago, every mock draft I saw had him 17, 19, 22. Some had him going to the Saints at 29. I never thought he was going to make it as far as the Saints, so I think that's a pipe dream, and it's even more so now. But these numbers always start changing, and to me, the only thing that really matters when you're talking about odds and draft is the number 1 spot. I think we all know Bryce Young is going number 1 because we've watched his odds change from plus 130 to minus 150 to minus 300. The bottom dropped out at minus 1,000. I don't even know what it is now. Can you even still? Okay, I was going to say, can you even still bet it? So I think, to me, when you're talking about odds, those are the only ones that you can really tell anything. Maybe if the second team didn't need a quarterback, or if we had a better idea of what was going to happen there as far as pick-wise, if the Texans were going to stay at 2 or whatever. But you start going down the line, and it's a crapshoot. So I just, again, Atlanta has been known to screw things up over and over again. And would it make sense? Absolutely, it makes sense. But are they going to do it? Who knows? I doubt it.
I like the crew they've gotten there. I like the brain trust they've got in Atlanta. I know people aren't going to want to hear that thing.
Okay, they lose.
They are now the second favorites to win the division. They could be the Saints' primary competition to win the NFC South. And Bijan Robinson,
no way,
is the type of rookie. A running back's a spot where a rookie can come in and make an immediate impact.
They have no quarterback. You can't win without a quarterback.
That is a decent point. We'll see what Desmond Ridder does.
The Saints proved that. the Saints had people might shake their heads and laugh at this, but honestly, Sean Payton's last year, they had a Super Bowl caliber type team, but they didn't have a quarterback, and that's why they didn't win. They had a NFC Championship capable type of team, as they showed in destroying the Eagles in Philadelphia, and they couldn't make the playoffs because they didn't have a quarterback. So, you don't have a quarterback, you can't win. Not especially not today.
Yeah, I think that's clear. Although this division is so bad that the Saints could have won the division
I think
last
Carolina,
year even without a quarterback.
I know this is for later shows and later in the year and during the summer and all that, but I think Carolina is going to be much better than anybody thinks they're going to be. I mean, they weren't that far away last year. Again, a team that had zero quarterback. They need other help too. But man, the Panthers are the ones that are scary if you're a Saints fan. I think the Bucs and Falcons are both going to be awful, and I don't care who they get in the draft. Because I don't like their leadership. I think their leadership is terrible. Tampa Bay is way worse though. They're a rudderless ship now. I don't know where Tampa Bay goes.
They want to lose this year. I mean, they're ready. They are ready.
They're
to
like
tank.
the Oakland A's. Oh wait, that's later in the show.
Don't get me started just yet. All right, so that's it for the draft for now. We'll circle back at the end of the show. But just a reminder, 6 p.m. next Thursday, instead of our normal 4 o'clock hour, we will be live at 6 o'clock. Bayou Bets during the NFL draft, going to go for the entire time, all the way from the first pick, Bryce Young, through the Saints pick at 29, and all the way through, I guess it's 31 this year. The Dolphins don't have a pick.
And we'll be updating the entire draft throughout. So, I mean, make us your primary source for draft. I mean, how many years in a row can you listen to Mel Kiper and look at that hair? I mean, my hair is much better than his.
You can turn them on and turn the volume on us, second screen experience here.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you this, especially if you're streaming, we're going to have the picks faster than TV is. We will have the picks faster. We're going to talk about how the odds change. If you want to know what's happening, the odds are where to look as soon as you can. So we'll be doing that as well as checking up on Airline Drive at the Saints headquarters.
We'll have a little ticker scrolling at the bottom like ESPN does.
Spencer the Guru will be out on Airline Drive, and he'll be talking. We'll also be talking with Jeff Duncan, Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Taryn Walk, our whole team out there about what the buzz is at the Saints facilities.
Yep.
All right, so we'll move on here, and for those of you who are into such a thing, I updated the Zurich Classic odds at 4:20 p.m. on 4:20. And here they are.
Those Schauffele Cantlay odds are absurd.
I will say this. Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, defending champions, clearly the strongest team on paper coming into this event. They were 1 over through 7 holes.
Well, they're 4 under now on the 14th.
They've
they're about to birdie
5 of the last 6.
Yeah, they're about to birdie 13 as well, so they'll be 5 under. But that is still absurd odds.
They have birdied 6 of the last 7 then, if that goes in. It's a 9-foot putt. So they're hard charging, but the point of an event like this, especially Thursday and Saturday, is best ball. You've got to keep pace. And the fact that they were 1 over through 7 holes, even though they've birdied 5 of the last 6, they're in a tie for, 56th right now. They're in a tie for 56th, even after birdieing 5 of the last 6, because everyone else went out and you're playing best ball. They boat raced the course. I'll say this. One of the craziest holes you'll ever see on the PGA Tour, Sungjae Im and Keith Mitchell, Sahith Theegala and Justin Suh were paired together, and they were playing number 9, which was their last hole of the day at TPC Louisiana. And Sungjae and Keith Mitchell went in at 10 under. They were in the lead, and Sahith and Justin Suh were 8 under, tied for 3rd or something. 3 of the 4 players duck hooked their ball into the water on number 9. You'll never see this, including both Sungjae Im and Keith Mitchell hook the ball in the water. Where to me, if you're playing in a team event and your buddy hits the water, just be safe. Yeah. Just go get a par.
It's like a free throw. Maybe they were trying to be safe and he just couldn't.
And Justin Suh also hit it into the water. So then Theegala is safe and he just lays up in front of the green. It's a par 3. Okay. So now we're in a situation where Sungjae and Keith Mitchell both have to take drops, as does Justin Suh. Sahith Theegala is away because he was so conservative. He chips in from 60 feet for birdie to get to 9 under. And the crowd goes crazy. Then Keith Mitchell chips his drop within about 2 feet. So, they saved bogey at least. And then Sungjae chips in his drop from 40 feet for par. So, you had 3 balls in the water and 2 chip-ins from over 40 feet. It was the craziest thing you'll ever see. But the upshot is that Im and Mitchell are tied at 10 under par.
There are three teams tied.
3 teams up there. It's Matt and Alex Fitzpatrick are also tied at 10 under par, and David Lipsky and Aaron Rye are the other pair. Mitchell and Im, clearly strongest team of those 3. They're the favorite.
I think that anyone that is not at least 4 under or 5 under by the end of the day today, is going to be in a world of hurt because tomorrow is alternate shot.
Today
is the day to right. So today is the day to score. I don't think you're going to see anyone with great scores tomorrow. So I think I would wait to bet until this round is over. And the guys who play in the morning tomorrow are going to have a major advantage over the guys who play in the afternoon because the guys who play in the morning may actually get their rounds over with. The guys in the afternoon, they're going to be fighting rain. If there are thunderstorms, they're going to have to start, stop, and probably have to finish on Saturday morning. I think it's very, very likely that tomorrow's round will not be finished tomorrow. And so, again, that does favor Cantley and Schauffele. But I still, it's plus 750 as Cantley is about to putt for birdie here in 13. That could get him to 5 under. But again, if they're not at least 6 under, I don't want any part of them. And if they get to 6 under, their odds are going to go back to like plus 500. So I think they're unbettable right now. You really want to look for somebody on this list and they are 5 under now. You want to go through this list and find a team that's 6, 7-ish under that plays early in the morning and get their round done, and golfers that you can trust. So I actually have the Kims. That was one of our best bets. And I still, even though they're not playing that well right now, I still like them. If they can get to like 6 under before the end of the day, they're at 5 right now, putting for birdie. I think they could make some noise tomorrow. Maybe get to like 9 or 10 tomorrow. Because really, if you get to 10 under tomorrow, it's going to be a big deal. So we'll see. But that's where I would go. I wouldn't bet on, unless you just think you got great value. I don't think there's going to be any value on anyone that plays in the afternoon tomorrow.
The only thing is, if things get totally wiped out, those guys, those afternoon wave tomorrow may get to play on a soft course Saturday morning, and that kind of helps you.
Yeah, Saturday is going to be a scoring day for sure. I mean, yeah. Saturday there are going to be at least 1, 2, maybe 3 teams that are 10 under for the day. So yes, but you got to make the cut first, and if you don't make that top 33, it doesn't really make a difference what Saturday's conditions are like. So. We'll see.
I'm talking about round 2, the afternoon guys playing.
Oh, okay.
Saturday
yeah,
morning.
but I that's only if they don't finish most of their round or something.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's super interesting. I'll also note at 8 under through 12 holes, the team of S.Y. No and Michael Kim. They're 8 under through 12 holes today. They could get to 10 under and be tied for the lead today. And
you're saying I picked the wrong Kim. I picked the wrong Kim.
Michael Kim and S.Y. No. So that's an interesting team. They're 40-1 live odds, so you could still get a good number on them. Yeah, you could say yes to Kim
I'm
and
no. I'm going to say no. Okay.
I believe they are 40-1 right now. Last I checked.
Yeah, so that's not enough.
No, I take it back. They're 70-1.
Okay, well maybe.
So maybe take a look at that.
Have I ever made a live bet on the air?
Let
me do it right now. Let's see. You go ahead. Go to the next.
Share your screen, man. All right. Next up, NBA playoffs resume tonight. The big news from Thursday's games. You look at that last one. The Suns are out to 7.5-point favorites over the LA Clippers. Paul George was already out, and earlier announced today Kawhi Leonard's out. Strained his knee in Game 1, aggravated it, I guess, in Game 2. The guy, he's like the Zion Williamson of the West, except the big difference is he already has an NBA championship ring, but just can't seem to stay on the court. And the Clippers, who had that big win in Game 1, are now in danger of going down 2-1 and giving home court back to the Suns. I just find, at least in this first round, the Western Conference to be so much more interesting than the Eastern Conference. The Kings-Warriors series, fascinating for so many reasons. Draymond Green suspended. Stomping on the chest. I don't know if you can call it stomping, but certainly stepping on the chest of Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis played that up a little bit, but Draymond was never going to get the benefit of the doubt there. So he's out. Warriors still 6.5-point favorites. You think they'd bounce back. My best bet for us on bet.NOLA.com today was Warriors money line parlayed with the over.
Oh, Lord.
Because I think there's a ton of scoring.
Mabel.
What's Mabel?
You picked the Warriors money line.
Well, I think the spread's too high. It's dangerous.
I'd bet there might be 3 people on the planet who picked the Kings, who bet the Kings money line. I haven't yet. There's going to be 4.
You're going to bet the Kings money line?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay.
For sure. I mean, I'm not saying the Warriors won't win, but I guarantee you there's major value in the Kings' money line tonight. Because there is no way the Kings are going to win this game. I mean, it's the same thing with game 2. It's Mabel-ish.
Are you telling me you're going to place another?
By the way, I got my bet in. I did place a live bet already.
70 to 1.
Live bet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, 70 to 1 on no. So yes.
Some of that too. Yes.
$3. I bet $3 on it.
All right. Here's your series prices, Jim. And the one I left off that's at all competitive is Heat and Bucks. It's the same price as Clippers Suns. The Bucks are minus 475. The Heat's plus 360. The others are basically over. Celtics, Nuggets, and 76ers are all going to advance. So here's the one
minus 20,000.
I kind of like the Cavs. I think the Cavs find a way to win that series. Still minus 130. I'm not seeing, Grizzlies plus 125.
Grizzlies are going to win that series.
Yeah, we've liked the Grizzlies from the beginning and still do.
Still do. Yeah. I think people are going to say the Warriors. That's a great value. No, it's not. They're not going to win that series. Don't waste your money. The Warriors are not going to win that series. I don't think there's. But at the same time, I don't think I would bet the Kings at this point at minus 175. But I really think the Kings are going to win tonight. Well, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not going to go bonkers on it, but I am going to put a couple bucks on it. I do like the Cavs as well. I think the Cavs are decent value there. And I don't think the Clippers have a prayer.
We were talking earlier about how great it would be if the Western survivors.
It would be awesome.
Were the Nuggets, Clippers, Grizzlies, and Kings.
It would be great.
Just eliminate all of the teams that are like people who don't really like basketball, but they love the Lakers. I love Steph Curry and the Warriors. Oh, I love Kevin Durant. He's so great. Just knock them all out and let's have some fun. Plus, those are all fun teams. The Clippers, the Grizzlies, Kings, and Nuggets would be super entertaining. Unfortunately,
who would Mabel bet on then?
Yeah,
if the Warriors and Lakers and Suns are gone, who would they bet on?
Clippers probably, but that's the problem is the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard.
Just bet on the East.
Yeah, I just don't see the Clippers getting past the Suns. Now, Kawhi comes back for Game 4, which he's supposed to be questionable for. Maybe they can stay in that series. Yeah. Paul George eventually could come back too, but I don't.
That's not a good price though. I mean, I don't think you're getting a good price there. I mean, we always talk about value.
I think it was plus 390 before the series. So
yeah, I don't like that. I wouldn't touch either side of that. I mean, again, we always talk about what we think the best value is when we show something on the screen. And to me, the best value is still the Grizzlies, plus 125. I know it's 1-1. I know they're going back to L.A. Is that really a big deal? The Grizzlies were a pretty darn good road team, if I remember correctly. I know the Kings are a good road team. So I think, is Ja Morant going to come back? I think they don't play that till Saturday, right? I think Game 3 is Saturday. Yeah. So, I mean, they have plenty of time for Ja to get a little bit better. And the fact that he almost played last night tells me that he's probably going to play in Game 3. I just don't think the Lakers are that good. I'm still not believing that they're any good. They had a nice little streak going. And the fact that they had that nice little streak, have all these people. I mean, those odds when they were, minus 500 to win plus 500 to win the West, that was absurd. I mean, that's unbettable. That is literally unbettable. So,
by the way, the Grizzlies not a very good road team, 16-25.
Okay, I know the Kings are. I know the Kings are a really good road team.
Kings were a good road team. The Lakers were not a particularly good home team, just 23-18 at home. So, home court advantage. The Kings were a good road team, 25-16, but the Warriors had the second best home record in the NBA at 33-8. And so we'll see. Right now, that series still, they say a series doesn't begin until the road team wins a game. Well, that Kings-Warriors series, I could see a situation where the home team wins all 7 games.
I think you're going to learn a lot tonight. I think if the Warriors don't blow them out, I think they're in real deep trouble. Because if they don't come out with that Warriors, persona and just shoot the lights out of the ball, and Steph and and Thompson both have 30, 35 points, and they make 16 to 18 threes. I mean, I think if they don't do that, I think that they're in deep trouble because this Kings team's not going away. They're underrated, and I give them a legitimate chance. A real legitimate chance to go to the finals. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the championship, but again, I know I keep saying I have them at 75 to 1. I think at 75 to 1, I love my number there. I don't think they're going to win the finals, But I think it's 75-1. If you gave me that again, which you can't get them at that now, I think they're like 30-1, which is still a good value. This is a really good team. Them and the Nuggets, I think you're getting value on right now.
Yeah, still really like the Nuggets. They got threatened.
Boy, Murray is insanely good when he gets going.
But
I didn't realize how good he was.
Nuggets look real good. All right, we're going to end the show as we always do with our rants. And I'm going to go to baseball for mine, Jim. And this is sort of a near and dear to my heart one. I get several friends who are Oakland A's fans, and I know the initial reaction is that, the A's didn't have any fans. Yes, they did. Yes, they do. They have quite passionate fans. It's not the biggest fan base in the Major League Baseball, but they were a top 10 in attendance in the majors team for much of the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. There is a loyal fan base there that frankly grew fed up with the ownership. And first it was allowing the Raiders to put up Mount Davis in that stadium and ruining a bunch of view lines for what was actually a very good baseball stadium at the time. And then it was slowly but surely ruining the product on the field. And we all saw Moneyball 20 years ago, or the season was 20 years ago, and Billy Beane was able to do a lot of good things with less money, and so they still won. But basically, John Fisher, the owner of the A's, has become the evil witch owner from the movie Major League. And he drained this team. There was a possum in the TV booth the other day, and they had to chase it. Like, I've been in that press box for football games, for Raiders games, and there's like exposed wire everywhere. The stadium has not been taken care of. They were clearly trying to force the hand of the tax-paying public to fund a new stadium for them. And the city of Oakland, state of California, offered them $800 million in infrastructure and other monies to try to build a new stadium on that site there, or close to it on the waterfront in Oakland. And John Fisher said that wasn't good enough. And so he basically held his fan base, his city hostage, and said, if you give me more, until they finally said, no, enough's enough. And so he went and moved to Las Vegas, where you're going to have 120-degree days in the summer. The roof will always be closed. I'm sure it'll be a nice park. I personally will probably go watch Major League Baseball in Las Vegas. I don't know that it's going to be all that successful, though. You have people, if you live in Vegas, you don't like having to come to the Strip to do stuff. If you're visiting, Cirque du Soleil's right in your hotel. David Copperfield's right in your hotel. Why are you going to go see the Rockies face the A's, over off of the Strip on Flamingo Boulevard or whatever it is? I just don't really understand it, other than it's pure and simple greed, and the people who suffer are the fans. And by the way, New Orleans, you're lucky that the Bensons own your teams, because Tom Benson was very committed to keeping the teams in New Orleans, as is Gail Benson.
Weren't saying that in 2005.
And I think, well, fair enough. But eventually they did come around, and Gail seems committed to the teams here. This is something that happens over and over and over and over again. John Fisher's just the latest example. At some point in the future, the people of New Orleans are going to have to pony up for a new stadium, or the Saints will threaten to leave. I don't think it'll happen under Gail Benson, but it may happen down the road with new ownership.
They have a long lease still with the Dome. They're not going anywhere. As far as the Bensons go, look, God rest his soul, Tom Benson. But ask my wife what she thinks about me saying I'll never go to San Antonio the rest of my life. I will never step foot or drive a car through the city limits of San Antonio, because they tried to steal the New Orleans Saints. And Tom Benson was going to let it happen until the NFL stepped in. Mayor Hamburger, for you people who remember what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Look, I'm going to try to put this as nicely as possible. The stadium, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, or whatever the hell it's called these days, is an absolute dump. And the way that stadiums work these days is, if the state doesn't pony up, or the city doesn't pony up, or some public entity doesn't pony up, it doesn't get fixed, and they don't stay they just don't stay. Look at the Los Angeles Rams and why they ended up leaving, and why the Chargers didn't go there, and they were supposed to go there earlier. They don't stay. And the place is a pure dump. The team has been terrible, except for little pieces here and there. And frankly, Vegas doesn't care whether the A's are any good. And the fans in Vegas won't care whether they're good or not, because they're going to get 50% of their fans from other teams, cities that want to go travel to Vegas to go see a baseball game. It's the same in football. I mean, You're going to get people from, let's make a trip out of it. Oh, we live in Denver. It's not that far of a drive. Or we live in L.A. It's not that far of a drive. Or we live in San Francisco. Let's drive over. They don't care. And that's what this is about. It's about money. You're going to make a lot of money if you're the owner of the A's by moving your team to Vegas. And, we've agreed on a lot of things lately, but I can't agree with you on this one. They got to get out of Oakland. It's the right move for the team. It's the right move for the owner. And frankly, I don't think the city cares all that much. You go back to talking about 2001. Well, a lot of people watching this show, I mean, how old were you in 2001? I mean, I know I was a young man in 2001. That was a long time ago. So if I was a young man in 2001, a lot of these people were either little kids or barely born. It just, you can't, I mean, you got to go back that far to say the team had a lot of attendance then. No one cares. It's all about today and what you can do from our stadium and make it look better. And
the one thing that you said that I agree with is that this is what was best for the owner. And I'm glad that we're all looking out for the well-being of billionaires.
It's their team. They can do whatever the hell they want with it. It's theirs.
My heart.
He owns the team. He can do whatever he wants with it.
A sports team owner should be a steward of the community and should not look to line his damn pockets at every turn. I'm sorry. That's what I believe.
Do you believe that about an owner of a business?
Every business is not a community standard, a community specter in the community. If you're running a for-profit business, fine. These teams make plenty of money. Trust me. Even the Oakland A's made plenty of money with nobody coming to the park because they have TV deals, because they have revenue sharing, because of all this other stuff. John Fisher is not hurting for money. He's greedy, plain and simple, and he's getting what he wants.
He's greedy. He's probably, you want to talk about profits, there's probably only one team in baseball that makes less profit than he makes, or more profit, I should say, or less profit, I would guess. And it's got to be the Pirates, right? I mean,
the Pirates owner doesn't spend anything, so he's in the same boat. They're making money hand over fist because it's all income and no expense. It's all revenue and no expense. Look, we're not going to go too far into this.
If I own a team, and I know I haven't given my rant yet, and this can be my rant for all I care, but if I owned a team in Oakland, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there either. I really couldn't. Besides
when was the last time you were in Oakland?
No, it's been a while, but I've been to Oakland
because you don't have any idea. Because
I don't care. It's Oakland. I mean, who you're talking about?
Jim,
city?
When you say that the city doesn't care, I know people from Oakland.
I'm not talking about the city.
I guarantee you, the city cares. I guarantee you.
What do you think the increase? What is the increase in value of this team immediately by going to Vegas? Probably twice what it will be in Oakland. I'm not being overhyping or anything. I bet they go.
Bay Area is a fantastic team to have a sports franchise.
What are they worth now? 1.1 billion or something like that. What are they worth now?
It will increase.
I guarantee
in value
it doubles.
Of the new stadium. It will increase in value significantly because of the new stadium. I mean that.
Well, it's going to go up even more than that. By the way, a new stadium that they're going to get for free. So if you're talking about for
who? For the rich guy.
Who cares? He's making money. He owns the stadium. He's trying to make money. We live in a capitalist society. Are we going to go into politics today?
Why do we care more about the billionaire than we do about the guy?
I don't care about either one of them, to be honest. I don't care where the A's play. I'm not going to watch them whether they play in Oakland or whether they play in Vegas. I don't like the American League, and I really don't care what happens to the Oakland A's. But if I own the Oakland A's and someone says, your team right now is worth $1 billion. If you move to Las Vegas, your team's going to be worth $2 billion. Adios.
Listen, I agree with
it's pretty simple.
You said. I agree with one more thing you said, and that's that you don't care about the Oakland A's. That is obvious.
You're right.
All right.
That is true.
NFL draft next week. As a reminder, we are going to be live on this show at 6 o'clock next Thursday instead of 4 o'clock. Jim, it'll be a very interesting night for the Saints.
It will be. And, the biggest difference, I do care about the New Orleans Saints, by the way. And if they moved, I'd be pretty ticked off about it, but I'd probably understand if they were going to make more money somewhere else. May happen one day.
The billionaires have to be protected.
May happen in our lifetimes. I'm definitely not putting it past anyone to move them. Anyway, what's the biggest difference going into this NFL draft, I think, for me, than any other time, and at least in recent memory? And you talk about 2001. Well, let's go back to 2006. That was the first time that Sean Payton was running this team. And 2001, 2002, Mickey Loomis was hired as general manager. So there's been a lot of stability and consistency on this team. And for the first time, I think, in as long as I can remember, it feels like Sean Payton's really gone. I mean, even going into last year, remember how we talked about, you know what? Well, maybe if Sean Payton sits out, he'll come back to the Saints. I mean, people were talking about this for a long time. And it still felt like, even through that draft last year and even kind of through the season, it still kind of felt like Sean Payton had a finger on this team some kind of way. He was always making, they were always asking him comments about what he thought about the Saints. And he was saying, maybe they should do this or maybe they should do that. Well, to me, it finally feels like Sean Payton is out of the door and this is really Dennis Allen's team. And I think we're going to find out a lot about what Dennis Allen's philosophy is going forward when we watch this draft on Thursday, at least the first round and the early rounds. Because one thing that Sean Payton liked to do is his strength was offense, and he liked to go opposite of what he thought. You know, a lot of times he would take defense. And by the way, anyone who didn't think that Sean Payton was making those picks is out of their mind, because Sean Payton was. They didn't always work out, but he wanted to put a stamp on that. And I think that Dennis Allen's going to do that this Thursday by taking an offensive player. I think that's just one of the first steps as we go along. He's got Derek Carr. That was his player. What was his big free agent signing? It was a quarterback. And I think he's going to bring that further in the draft. And I think as we go forward over the next few months, it's finally going to start feeling like Dennis Allen's team. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I know for a lot of haters, it's going to be a bad thing. But I disagree. I think he's got that one season out of the way. And I think that things are going to start to get better for this team. I'm not saying a whole ton better. I think they have a lot of work to do. I think Derek Carr is a big piece. I think this draft is going to make a huge difference. But let's see what Dennis Allen can do. And this is, to me, the first year, his first real year as coach, and see how things go under Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is for sure, like, it is Dennis Allen's team now, and there will be no one pining for Sean Payton. There will be no. It's like breaking up with a girlfriend, as Robert Young said in our pre-production meeting. You break up with a girlfriend, but if she's still available, you sort of are always hopeful, right? Or you're always thinking about her. Now she's dating somebody else, and so now, like, it's over, right? You're out on the field, and this is who you've got. You've got Dennis Allen. It's his team, and we'll find out. We'll find out what he's all about. And I mean, there will be no excuses. But there will also be no sharing the credit if it goes right.
By the way, Zoe Collins-Rath points out in our little chat that she looked it up, and the Oakland Athletics, that was close, $1.18 billion. And the next time we do this show and have a total on what we think they'll be worth, I bet it's $2.36 billion or more.
I feel so bad for John Fisher that his asset. What was it when John Fisher bought it? It's probably doubled since he bought it. And he's just not making enough money, so we got to rip the hearts out.
I'll tell you what, you
fans.
Take your summer vacation in Oakland this year, and I want you to go do a poll of people in the street about the Oakland A's, and they'll say, who cares?
I don't think so.
I bet you get more than 50%. Who cares?
I have a lot of Californians on my Facebook page who disagree with you. So,
well, that's Californians who are like diehard baseball fans. It's a big difference.
I mean, that's true in any city, but yeah.
I mean,
you don't care about the Oakland A's, so we won't talk about them.
Okay, well, 5% diehard baseball fans in Oakland as compared to 75% diehard football fans in New Orleans. That's why the Saints are going to stay here, and the A's are leaving. No one cares.
All right, Jim Derry is done being wrong for the day. I'm done being right.
Probably.
Bayou Bets is over for Thursday. We'll be back Monday. We will have our regularly scheduled show Monday at 4 o'clock. And then, of course, as we've been mentioning, 6 p.m. next Thursday will be our live show during the NFL draft. So join us for both on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Like and subscribe for us, and we'll be back on Monday. Jim, you'll have Datitude tomorrow as well.
Datitude tomorrow. Again, New Orleans Breakers coach John D. Filippo will be on with us at 9:15. And then when we're finished talking to him, Luke Johnson is going to come on, and we're going to talk Saints draft. It's not necessarily going to be about mock draft, more about what he thinks the Saints' needs are, kind of go into that aspect of it. I'm tired of doing mock drafts. They don't mean anything anyway. But we will talk a lot of both the Breakers and the Saints tomorrow. And look, it's not just about the Breakers per se. John D. Filippo has a great story, great personal story, and we're also going to pick his brain on if he were if he were coaching the Saints, like what he might think. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He knows a little something about offense.
All right. So that is tomorrow morning on all your major podcast platforms. And Monday, Bayou Bets, more on the NFL draft, NBA playoffs, and we will have Zurich Classic results to talk about. So join us then on these same channels. For Jim Derry and our producer, Zoe Collins-Rath, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching.